Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you? So glad to see you. We're doing a quick video today as promised. We are doing, let me fix this. As promised, we're doing a video today on the topic of writer burnout. And basically, how do you overcome writer burnout? Because it's an important topic because once you get to a point of burnout, it sort of really means that you've spent a good period of neglecting yourself. Um, and once you've spent a good period of neglecting yourself and you get to the point where you're just sort of burnt out, um, it's a signal to your body that if you don't start to get up and take care of the said burnout and figure out why you're in this place, it could lead to long-term issues with your mental health and your physical health. And that's important to take care of. If you want to be a successful writer, um, you need to be able to take care of yourself and you have to know how to take care of yourself. And as we go through certain seasons, how we take care of ourselves can actually change. And so you always need to be in some sort of a process of figuring out how do I need to take care of myself in this season that I'm in right now. So first, um, let's sort of think about what burnout or writer burnout or life burnout really, because burnout is not particular to writers. Anybody can go through burnout, but we'll stick to talking about writer burnout in particular. Burnout can sort of look like anything like fatigue. You're just too tired to deal. You can't get out of bed in the morning. You're feeling tired in your body. You just spend a lot of time at the couch. Um, General lack of ideas or feelings of not being able to be creative, which can be very frustrating if like you're in the middle of a project or you want to start a project that you were once excited about and you can't do it. Um, that's a certain sign of burnout. Disinterest. Disinterest is a big one. If you're just feeling like, I don't know, like you're just not interested in the things that used to interest you before, or you started this project, you may be dead smack in the middle of the project, or you may be getting towards the end of the project, and all of a sudden you're just not interested anymore. You're exhausted. It could be feelings of overwhelm. There's just a lot going on right now and you really just you can't seem to get a handle on all the things that are going on. You've got family stuff going on, there's stuff going on with your job. Um, Sometimes it could be that people are out of work, or if you're a freelancer like myself, maybe you're having trouble um, finding work. I've certainly been there. That can lead to a sense of overwhelm and having to think about, I have so many bills that I need to pay for that are piling up, and I don't know how I'm going to take care of it. All of that is overwhelm, and just feelings of just high stress all the time. You always feel sort of strung out. You can't really relax in your body. Um, when I sort of feel stressed, it's sort of like, I don't, how can I explain it? It's like there's like some sort of an element or something that's sort of screaming in your body, and it's always like running, and it's always on and you can't turn it off, and you want so much to be able to relax but you can't. That's what sort of that's what I would explain stress feels like for me. And all of this leads to the fact that you can't get to your writing. You can't get to the thing that you really love to do. And as I said before, once you get to the point of burnout, it's sort of like it's an emergency signal already. And if you don't take care of this emergency signal, it can lead to bigger problems in your health, your physical and your mental health. And you need to be able to take care of that. So, quick question of the day. I went through a quick list of things that burnout may feel like for you, but what does burnout, writer burnout, feel like for you? Are there other adjectives that you would add on in there? Because this was a big question that I have been asked about writer burnout. How do you deal with it? So, what does writer burnout feel like for you? You can put the comment in the description. Um, so, how do we deal with writer burnout? How do we move through it? Um, a lot of times when we have issues with our health and well being, people want to sort of force us to do things, and forcing people to just sort of jump in and do things, I don't think is really the best advice. I'm from the United States, and American people have a tendency to just want to push you, just push you to the next thing without any sort of reflection on what you're feeling and how you got there. And so, my first piece of advice that I would offer to people who are going through writer burnout is to give yourself permission to rest, permission to stop and rest. It's okay. Taking a moment to stop and rest does not mean that you are lazy. It doesn't mean that you're somehow a bum, that you're a failure or you are failing. It just simply means that you need a moment to gather yourself. And that's okay. It's okay for you to gather yourself. It's okay to take moments throughout your life on a regular basis to just sort of sit down and recoup. Um, because you if you're at a point of burnout, you haven't been resting. That's a sign that you haven't been resting at all. So you need to take a good long moment of rest. Now that rest could be a weekend. Um, it could be longer than a weekend. But nonetheless, you need to be able to rest. And what's important during your period of rest is number one, don't force trying to be creative. Sometimes we get into this thing where we need to produce, and I hate that. Creativity does can't work under that kind of pressure. There's things that you can sort of do to sort of put boundaries around your creativity to make sure that you're in the flow that works for you. Um, but you never want to force your creativity. You got to sometimes let yourself sit down and just let what needs to be. Just take a moment for yourself. If you need to sit down and go to sleep, like for real. I'm not really into like life hacks or biohacks, some people call it, where they sort of force them to get into this pattern where they only sleep 4 hours a day to sort of prove something to somebody. I don't know who. Um, I know for a fact that I need 8 hours of sleep a day, not necessarily 9 hours, but I do need 8 hours of sleep a day in order for me to be able to feel good. I literally I can't write anything, I can't do any client work, I can't do any personal work. It's just really hard for me to be able to be interested in um, getting done what I need to get done throughout the day in order to feel productive when I haven't slept the full 8 hours a day. So that's really important for me. Um, so once you've taken some time to rest, I think that it's important to reflect on why you're even burnt out in the first place. Why are you feeling burnt out? And oftentimes, this can often be connected to the big three. It's either your work, something having to do with a relationship or relationships, or your money, your work, your money, how you make your money or lack thereof. Um, so this is really a great time for you to be able to pull out your journal and start to reflect on what it is that is leading you to this state of burnout. And reflection is so important, particularly as adults. Adult education is really my background. And so, what I've learned is I've studied adult education, is that adults really learn through the process of reflection. And through the process of reflection, we start to make meaning of the experiences that we have gone through, which is why journaling is just so important. It's a really great tool for you to be able to learn from what it is that you've been through. And so that you can have actual language, actual words for what it is that you are feeling and what you may need to express, either to yourself, to someone who might be contributing to your burnout, to a therapist, or anyone who is a support person in your life. Um, One of the questions that you can start with outside of why you're burnt out is, what is this period of burnout here to teach me? What is this period of burnout here to teach me? And so for myself, I didn't give any part of my background for folks who would be new to this particular video and to me in particular. I'm a freelance writer. I've been a freelance writer as of this video for the last 8 years. In July of 2018, I decided to pack up my bags, and I decided I was 40 years old, and I moved myself and my business overseas. And the first country that I moved to was Thailand. And I lived in several Southeast Asian countries for a few years. Um, During the period of the pandemic, I moved to my current location of Kigali, Rwanda. And I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I'm about to move on to, like, I think this will be my 8th country. I'll be moving to Turkey and Mexico next. And so I'm super excited about that because this particular move marks an ending and a beginning in my life. I consider myself recovered from burnout. Taking me 5 years to do this. 5 years. I've moved very slowly over the last 5 years because I've been in a period of purposeful healing. And the places that I've lived in have contributed, the countries that I've lived in have contributed to my healing process. I've had a handful of people who have supported me in this process, people that I have paid. Um, I've spent a lot of alone time during this particular process because I felt so burnt out. And um, I'm glad that I've given myself 5 years to be able to recover from the burnout that I was experiencing. Not to say that you have to take 5 years to be able to do it. I have my own issues that I need to be able to heal from. But my level of burnout, and I would even say full blown depression, was really, um, it was really a symptom of me, or a result of me not taking care of myself, which should have been taken care of years ago. But I didn't know to take care of it. I didn't know how. I'd never seen that um, sort of a pattern. You know, take it, no one handles their mental health where I come from, and so the people who raised me sort of showed me how to just run through stuff um, for various reasons. And so I'm sort of really just sort of trying to figure this thing out by myself on how to be able to take care of myself so that I don't end up dead early. I'm only 46 years old. My own mother passed away of breast cancer when she was 49, and I was 29 at that time. So I have an example of why it's so important for you to take care of yourself. When you don't take care of yourself, it leads to diseases and events in your life. It will get to a point where it will get so out of control that it'll take you right on out of here. And I don't want that. And so that was part of the reason that I decided I wanted to go ahead and live my life overseas. I had put my whole life on hold forever, putting myself in relationships with other people who told me, we'll eventually get to a point where we would live overseas. And we just never got there, again, for various reasons. And so when I got to the point where I was done with all these relationships, I finally decided to just go ahead by myself and travel in the way that I wanted to. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I've been taking care of myself. And so I'm doing this video because I want people who may be in a similar circumstance as myself um, to be able to learn how to take care of themselves and start putting patterns in place where you can take care of yourself. So, so we were talking about what is burnout here to teach me? That's a great reflection question. I've used a lot of journaling and to be able to think about um, what are some old patterns that I want to get rid of, and what do I want to put in its place? What patterns, what new patterns, life patterns that I want to put in its place? Um, so we talked about thinking about where it is that you're neglecting yourself. That was a big thing for myself. I was always in a state of neglecting myself and choosing to take care of others before I took care of myself, only to wonder why the other people that I was taking care of were not taking care of me in return. And so I was always in this state of, begging for people to pay attention to me and begging for people to love me. And then you're just sort of left with um, resentment and wondering why you don't get back what you put out. And it was really never their responsibility in the first place. That's what I've learned. So I don't even blame these people anymore. It's not really even really about blame, but I don't really think they are not as important in my story as I am. So think about where it is that you're neglecting yourself in your life, and how it is that that contributes to your burnout. And then in order to be able to move through your burnout, I shouldn't say your burnout, but this burnout, to be able to move through the burnout, there's different ways of movement. You can use movement in different ways to be able to start to move through the burnout. Number one, look at movement as a way to be able to move and clear out energy. This is something that I've learned over the last 5 years. I had so much stagnant energy. If you're a woo-woo person, stay with me. If you're not, just close your ears for a few seconds. I went to see a shaman who helped me to move energy. I didn't even really understand when I first went to go to see a shaman. I went to someone in um, Thailand, my first country, and he did some sort of energy work around my neck and my shoulders. And when he started to sort of pull out dense energies from various places that I picked these things up from and never fought to get rid of them, I can sort of start to feel relief in the neck and shoulder of my body, because I hold a lot of energy here. I hold a lot of energy in these spaces. So you can do this through a shaman if you choose to. You can also do this through massage. I love massage, spa visits. I love a good spa visit. And I don't think of spa visits as luxury anymore. Like I grew up thinking that those sorts of treatments were for people who had money, and they're really not. If you go to Thailand and you see how low cost, I won't use the word cheap, but you'll see how low cost a lot of massages and other, so I don't even want to call it a spa because of the word spa is connected to the word to luxury experiences, and really these things are for everybody. It's for your health. You don't have to think of doing things like getting a massage as something that's only meant for the rich. It's for everybody and their health. Happy Nurse Patty, good morning. So glad to see you. Thank you for hanging out with me on my live today. I'm glad that you are watching. So yeah, it's important to not think of uh, spa treatments as something as only for rich people. It's for everybody. It's really something that you do for your health, and it really helps me to relax and sort of get into my body instead of always, being, instead of being present where I am. Massages really help me to sort of calm down and really get into my body and start to think about what it is that I need in order to really take care of myself. So spa visits is number one. Number two, move clutter. Moving clutter is super important. I was just explaining that I need to be able to move. I'm moving to Turkey next, and it's when am I moving? And then maybe another 2.5 months. And I've been moving a lot of the clutter that I have in my space, things that I'm not using, things that I don't want, things that I know for sure that I'm not taking with me. I'm taking those things and I'm getting rid of it, throwing stuff out, giving it away, selling a few items. Um, Mostly because I don't want to wait until the last minute like I've done in the past, waiting to the weekend of to move to someplace else. But it's just really important for me um, to be able to move the clutter. And what happens when you get any sort of movement, when you start moving things around and the energy in your home starts to move around. And that's really when you start to get really good ideas about um, what you need in your life. You make space for new things to be able to come into your life, new ideas to be able to show up, things that couldn't come in because it was just taking space by all this other dusty physical belongings that you have in places that you're not using. It helps me to think about, what do I want my next home to look like? Even though I'm only going to Turkey for like 4 to 6 weeks, I still need a place, I need a place that's going to be suitable for me to be able to live there. And while in the past, I may have just said, I just need a small place, like I don't want to do that anymore. I feel like I'm getting to a point where I know I need to be comfortable. And so I've been sort of spending some time thinking about what I want my place in Turkey to live there. It doesn't matter that I'm only going to be there for 4 to 6 weeks. Yes, decluttering breeds clarity. Yes, absolutely. Decluttering breeds clarity. And I've known some people in my family as well as other friends whose homes are always just so cluttered. I mean, you just come in year after year, and it's just like the clutter just seems to get bigger instead of like it doesn't even move. And so that really just sort of um, it makes a statement about the clutter in their in within their own lives, and this the state of their beings living in that particular home. So it's important to declutter. You need to move your body. That's also really important. Doing things like exercise. One of the things that I've learned to do since living in Rwanda is to make sure that I learned how to run. Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills. And so I didn't really expect it when I moved here. Um, but running is a big part of the culture. Sports in general are a really big part of the culture here. And people just sort of use the hills as a way to be able to um, engage themselves in some sort of sport activity. In the early mornings and in the early evenings, it's not unusual to see people go out and run up and down the hills. And so since I've been here, I loved your video showing the morning exercise day. Yeah, usually on Sundays, what they will do until like 10 a.m., like between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. here, they will close off the roads, a lot of the major roads, and they allow the community to use it as a place for exercise. And if you know anything about the history of Rwanda and the genocide against the Tutsis here from 1994, that's really sort of a big deal to be able to bring people together using running and exercises. And you'll see people young and old, outside in their sneakers and sweatpants and yoga pants, and they're out running up and down the hills. It's really a beautiful thing to see. That's one of the things I'm really going to miss when I leave here. But just the paying attention to how exercise can really bring people together, but just to be able to help with writer burnout, just moving, getting up and moving your body from your home environment is really important. Being able to go outside and get sunshine on your face and your other parts of your body, that's really, I found that to be really important, because when you move your body, um, it just brings clarity to mind. It brings clarity to mind. The last thing I would add is meditation. Your meditation is super important. I learned about meditation while I was in Thailand, and I learned. Well, I've learned even before I went to Thailand, but I didn't really keep it as a regular activity in my life because I didn't really truly see the benefit of it until I went to Thailand. And I had gotten to a point where my life was just so really, I was so burnt out, just from life in general, that I had a reason to really put a lot of emphasis on my meditation practice because I had nothing else. It was either do this or feel miserable. And so, in order for me to be able to get out of feeling miserable, I used a lot of meditation. And so, my first meditation session, I learned at a 10-day meditation, Vipassana meditation retreat at a Buddhist temple, which was a really strange experience for me. I should probably do a separate video on that one day. Um, I learned how to just sort of sit and be quiet, which was just sort of the hardest thing I had to learn how to do. And it's for a lot of us. A lot of us are really, we don't really know how to sit down with our own thoughts because we're always in the process of getting up and moving and doing and making and forcing, um, instead of just being. Yes, please do a video on that experience. Okay, sure. I'll do a video on what my experience was like during the 10 days of Vipassana in Thailand with monks. It was I really I love it, and I really consider that the foundation of my health and wellness today. And so I did the 10 days of the Vipassana meditation, and then I worked with um, an herbalist slash shaman for another 6 months to be able to help me with um, learning how to meditate and learning how to um, taking on new health habits. And it took me about, honestly, it took me a good year to really understand what I was doing in meditation. I didn't know, I couldn't figure it out, like, what am I looking for now, like, am I being quiet or not being quiet, or what. He told my um, herbalist, he told me to watch your thoughts. And it took me a year to like, what the hell does watching your thoughts actually mean? Um, but when I figured it out, I was like, I get it. That makes a lot of sense to be able to sit down and watch what your mind is doing um, when you pay attention to it, like a third party. Instead of being involved in the chaos of your head, of your mind, you sort of watch what it's doing, and you just, after the meditation, you take notes on what it is that you are, um, what you're looking at, what you're experiencing. So that's a really great way to be able to sort of cleanse the energy around you. So spa visits, cleaning up clutter, exercise, and meditation, those are all really important. Um, and then once you do those things, to be able to sort of learn how to move through the meditation, once you do those things energetically, just sort of move the energy around yourself, you can start to ask new questions. You ask, um, what is it that wants to emerge as in my life as a result of the burnout? It's usually often having to do with the just feeling like you just need something new to look forward to in your life. And so in my, even before um, I moved from the States to come to go to Thailand, there was a point where I was working at a job at a college, a university, and I hated the job. It wasn't the students. I loved my students, but it was just the administration. I didn't enjoy working with them. Um, and that was really sort of a point where I got interested in other things. And so I started to ask myself, what else do I like? What else do I want to do? And I got into food and health. I wanted to teach myself how to be able to make food from scratch, because a lot of stuff that I was doing, I was eating a lot of fast food or just making stuff from boxes. And I know I wanted to be able to feel better. And I got really interested in watching other people's like YouTube videos and what they were cooking, and just healthy things all around. And so I started to read cookbooks. I started to read cookbooks like novels. I would read it from front to back, and I would do all of the let's see, for me, burnout feels crippling, bringing my project to a grinding halt. I tend to majorly procrastinate and distract myself. Yeah, that sounds like something I can relate to. It feels crippling. That's a word, crippling. You can't focus on anything else. Bringing my project to a grinding halt, I tend to majorly procrastinate and distract myself. And it takes up so much of your life. It really does. It takes up so much of your life. I was just explaining that I had spent the last 5 years um, of my life just doing a lot of healing work. And while I'm glad I'm absolutely privileged to be able to have done that, I feel like now I can go on with the rest of my life. But that's only because I've spent so many years sort of running myself into the ground and putting myself last and taking care of everything and everybody else. Um, and that which of course leads to the burnout. So crippling is a perfect word. Um, so yeah. What was I? Oh yeah. What wants to emerge as a result of the burnout? Once you start to clear things out, what else do I need to do in order to be able to take care of, so that I'm not in this place of burnout anymore? And so one of the things that I've been doing, even before I left to go to Thailand, I said I was, reading cookbooks and learning about health and going into the kitchen and learning how to cook. And that actually led to me being a full-time writer, because that experience got me into writing recipes for other people, and I've started to teach classes about how to cook healthy foods. And then there was a health coach who saw that I was, sort of doing these things on my own, and I started to get hired to write short cookbooks for her particular audience. And there were a few people that actually hired me to write these things. Um, and so that was really my first regular gig, my first regular writing gig, writing for somebody else. And so that was really nice. I started to take like raw food health classes, and I was really excited about those things. I wasn't so much excited about the other stuff that I was doing anymore. And so, what my burnout was telling me was that it's time to put my energy into other things. And so, while I may not be doing food full time, I do. There's certain points. Participating in the food stuff actually led me to the life that I have now. Had I just, continued to just, burn myself out in the toxic work environment that I was in, honestly, I'd probably be dead by now of a heart attack or something like that. So it's really important to pay attention to those little inklings that we get on how to be able to take care of ourselves. That's super important. So I just want to be able to share that today. Thank you, Nurse Patty, and the other folks who hung out with me on the live today. I appreciate you, and also to you other people who will catch the replay. I do support people on a one-on-one basis who want to be able to work on building a freelance content writing business that you can take overseas with you or create a location independent business. If you want to do that, you can go to the description box, click on the link there, or just go to halanablack.com and click on freelance writer coaching. Thank you, Patty. Um, Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you tomorrow. Peace.